there's been, talk between your interaction and your ending on the show with 065.
He was like so much worse, like in person, like the gaslighting, the way he treated me, the way he spoke to me, like it was like bullying. I've received a lot of hate, racially charged. People's lips were literally falling apart. There were some people who physically were unable to make it through. Contestants had seizures. It was really sad.
Anyone hook up?
Depends on what you call hookup, I guess.
Let's get into it. This podcast is sponsored by Squarespace. They are an all-in-one website platform for business owners like yourself. Whether your products are services, physical items, or digital goods, Squarespace has you covered. To start, you can choose from one of their flexible website templates. Squarespace has measures in place so you don't need to do any coding. You won't need a degree in computer science. Whether you own a bakery, run a graphic design business, or sell merchandise, you can select features to enhance the brand you worked so hard for. Lastly, I have to mention their flexible payment tools. At first, I had no idea how to create a site and charge people for goods. Figuring out a payment processing system sounds difficult, but Squarespace has it all figured out. So what are you waiting for? Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Sloan, SLOAN, to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring this episode, and enjoy.
Welcome back to Let's Get Into It podcast, hosted by me, Sloan. Today, we have a Squid Games contestant on with us, player 399, also known as Aurora. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. I'm so excited to have you on, especially because, like many other people, I was watching the show, but I had a moment where I realized, like, wait, I know who that is because Aurora is from, like, my hometown. We went to the same high school. You did swim team as well, too, right?
Mhm. Yep,
Yeah, so,
swim
like,
team, swimmer blasters.
yeah, I saw you all around. So to see you on the screen, like, just randomly while I'm watching the show, and you did pretty well. That's impressive.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it means a lot that like people back home would recognize me because I just was I was so nervous doing this so far away from home, and then
Uh-huh.
it was a super exciting experience. So thanks so much, dude.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been like what, like 10 years since we've graduated. So like when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, of course I've kept up with you, but I did not see this coming. So give us a little bit of background on like who you are and how did you end up on the show?
Yeah, so I obviously you and I are from the same hometown, so we're both American. But I
Mhm.
now live in the UK. I live in London. So I transitioned. I work in tech. I'm a management consultant, and I moved to the London office of my firm back in May of last year. And when I moved, I started to kind of like blog my experiences and just like share with the world like what it's like to be a consultant, what it's like to be a Black girl in tech, and like what it's like to be an American in London. And so I started my TikTok and that like did quite well. So I've been able to kind of have that as like my side hustle since I've moved. And maybe 3 or 4 months into creating TikToks, one of the representatives from the show found it and reached out to me. They DM'd me on Instagram and kind of invited me to participate in the show. I had to go through multiple rounds of interviews, and then I got the confirmation that I had been selected, and then filming started in January of
In
this year.
January. Okay. And yes, Aurora is very active on social media. So her TikTok page, her Instagram, everything will be listed below. So definitely go and check her out. So when you were approached for the show, I mean, where were they filming this? And do you have any idea on how they decided to select people? Because obviously there's a big range. So I'm assuming not every single person came from TikTok, but do you have any
Right.
idea of how they selected people?
Yeah, so my understanding is like they wanted to have like a really good like mix of personalities.
Mhm.
Like the conversations that they asked me during my interviews were really interesting. Like, how do I handle conflict? Like, what's a big pet peeve of mine? Like, they gave me a lot of like scenario questions. And I remember leaving my, I remember leaving my interviews with Netflix, thinking to myself, like, I'm giving such like textbook Gryffindor energy, like textbook Gryffindor vibe. Every conversation, every answer was like, I'm gonna stand up for someone who's being let down, or I'm gonna stand my ground, or I would never let someone da da da. Like it was so cringe, like, thinking back to, like, what my answers were, but I think that they just wanted to have like, a great mix of people who are there for themselves, like, willing to do anything, like, it's so much money, like, $4.56 million, like,
Mhm.
that's not only life-changing for you, but life-changing for you and, like, anyone who's, like, in your circle, like, it's multiple generational, like,
Mhm.
people it's just, like, such a crazy amount of money, so how far are people willing to go? Like, what types of sacrifices are people willing to make? And I think that they did a really good job of like creating this like robust cast of like different levels of basically risk and different
Mhm.
levels of like integrity, different levels of like basically how far people would go to make this happen. So I think though like, that was kind of what was in the back of their mind. Obviously, I really have no idea why they picked me. To be quite honest, I don't even know why they picked me from TikTok. It's just again this like random thing. I just think I just popped up on one of the casting directors' pages, and they're like, "Oh yeah, maybe," and
Yeah.
so and I just happened to respond to the DM.
So when you were in that interview process, did you first know that it was gonna be, like, a Netflix situation? And did you also know, like, by interview 1, did you know the prize money was gonna be that large? Like, were they very upfront with all that information?
Mhm. Yeah, so they told me what it was. They told me it was Squid Game the challenge. They told me it was for the $4.56 million, and
Mhm.
yeah, so I knew what the production company was, which is Studio Lambert. That's who like
Mhm.
reached out to me technically, and then they sent over the audition tapes or like my interviews with production over to Netflix, and then Netflix selected the people that they wanted. So it was like kind of like a they worked to it together. But
Mm.
from the beginning, I knew it was a Netflix thing. I knew it was Studio Lambert, and I knew the prize money. They were very clear about that from the beginning, and that we were not going to be paid.
Yeah. So then you were, so you're based currently in the UK. Was it filmed in the UK?
It was filmed in the UK. It was literally filmed like 15 minutes from my house, which is so
Oh,
crazy because it's like, wow, I could have just walked out
yeah.
at any moment and just gone home to my comfortable bed. But yeah, so it was filmed in London, and they flew people from all over the world,
Mm.
from Asia, obviously there are a lot of Americans from the Middle East, like from like all over, Central and South America as well. So it was a really, really like international people from Australia, New Zealand, like diverse cast for sure. Japan, it was a lot of
Mhm.
people came.
So I'm sure because people were all flown in, like, they had different experiences as far as, like, staying in hotels prior, like, did you lived so close, so what did, like, the first day of shooting kind of look like? Did you just, like, Uber over there and you were there just, like, at your call time?
Yeah, so basically we all had to check into the same hotel, and we had to quarantine there for 3 days per person. So we had to have our masks and like take COVID tests, and we cannot leave our room. And then we turned in all of our technology, and then we went in to begin the game. So we were in the hotel for like almost a week before we
Mm.
started filming. It was like 3 or 4 days. And even the people who made it past red light, green light had to go back to the hotel before we actually went into the dorms. So it was a lot of time at the hotel, and everyone flew
Oh.
in to that same location before we started filming.
So it wasn't like it's obviously the timeline isn't how it presented in the show as far as, like, the red light, green light, and then we all just go into the dorm after. There was, like, a hotel kind of
Yeah, so we
situation in
took a
between.
bus. Yeah, so the people who unfortunately were eliminated went immediately, and then they
Mm.
kept a lot of us, like the people who passed red light, green light, and we all took a bus back to the hotel, and then we had to sleep there. We still didn't have any phones, any technology. We were fully already in the Squid Game universe. And then someone would knock on your door at like 6, 7 a.m. It was crazy. And then we had to get up, put all our our outfit or whatever, and then go to another bus, and then that bus took us to the filming location, which was not too far from where I live.
So I wanna talk about red light, green light, but as far as the outfits, just random question, like, did they give you multiple of, like, your number?
No, so we had like our green sweatsuits, and then we had
Mhm.
our t-shirts with our jackets, sorry, with our numbers on it, and then we had thermals. But we only had one set, but we had like multiple sets of thermals, multiple sets of underwear, multiple
Mm.
sets of like whatever you needed to go under. But we only got one t-shirt and one sweatpants shirt. Exactly.
Mhm. So since the show, there's been, talk between your interaction and your ending on the show with 065. And I want to get into that. But before we do, I mean, I've seen all these people talk on social media about their experience in the challenge. And I think watching it as a viewer, seeing all these people get eliminated that first game, it's like, wait, why? I mean, they just couldn't stand still there, but they really had you filming that entire game for hours long. Can you kind of
Yeah.
explain, like, so were you just holding a position for, I mean, 30 minutes at a time?
Yeah, so basically, we were holding our positions for 15 to 20 to 25 minutes at a time. It was freezing, so it was like maybe 20 to 25 degrees Fahrenheit, like 0
Mm,
degrees Celsius. And then also, like, while you're holding your position, there's cameras coming around, people like getting shot, pow, 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 like all around you. You have to stay completely still the entire time. So, like, all of those factors like led to why it took so long. So in the
mm,
end, red light, green light did not last 5 minutes. It lasted
mm.
about seven, like between to 8 hours, depending on when you were able to finish. And like
Jeez.
your whole body was like so exhausted. Like in order to make it past red light, green light, actually, I think it was more of a mental challenge than a physical one because you had to basically dissociate from your body in order to make it through. Like
Yeah.
everyone has a story, a mechanism, a place that they had to go to in order to make it past red light, green light. It was like, yeah, the most physically demanding thing I've ever done in my life.
And do you think, so was it made to be that cold to make it even more uncomfortable? Is that part of the strategy?
Oh, 100%. It was in an empty airplane hangar. So they went there for a reason. They wanted us to be cold and uncomfortable. I mean, they cut over half the people.
Yeah. And while you were on this show, did you ever see, I mean, obviously you would interact with staff and production. How was your relationship with them?
They were around, like, they were always checking in on us, like, trying to
Mm.
see how we were feeling, whatever gossip was going on in the dorm, they were, like, always just, like, around.
Mhm.
So, yeah, they had a very, very, present presence in the dorm, to say the least.
Yeah. Did they seem accommodating? Like, were there some other contestants who were, like, much needier and, like, constantly asking for things and
Yeah, yeah, everybody has, like, dietary requirements or, like,
mm,
medications that they need or, like, whatever, or maybe they, religious practice, so they had to go and pray, during certain times of the day. So everybody had different, like, accommodations that they needed, and they were pretty accommodating, to be quite fair, except they didn't give us, like, outside time until much later, and they didn't give,
mm.
like yeah, we were definitely at, like, a vitamin deficit, like, they gave us,
Yeah.
like, bars and, like they gave us so many things towards the end, I think. Like, we
Yeah.
got, like, chapstick as well towards the end, but, like, so many people had already been eliminated at that point, like, it's just, like, the
Yeah.
things that we should have gotten from the beginning, but, I would say overall they were accommodating once they realized that it was getting to a like, a dire point that people needed, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially seeing that one contestant, like, steal the extra food. I mean, it made me question, like, I am such a foodie, like, I need to eat. Like, did you feel like you were given the proper, like, did they properly feed you and, like,
I
hydrate
mean, what
you
is
and
being properly fed? I mean, like, I think that what we found out later was, like, we were eating, like, 1,000 around 1,000 calories a day, and I feel
mm,
like that's, like, what you eat in a meal, a good, like, I mean, an American meal.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
truly.
a proper meal, but, like, I didn't even eat that much because I was so grossed out by the breakfast, like, that porridge
Mhm.
like, I and to this day, it makes me, like, wanna vomit, so, like, I
Ew.
just was like I don't know if you've ever did you see The Matrix, Sloan?
Yeah, yeah.
When Neo, like, goes into the real world for the first time, he, like, pulls open that, like, slop that, like, they give to him.
Ew.
"What is this?" He's like, "Welcome to the real world."
Yeah,
That's what it was like. It was
yeah.
just, like it was just I can't just thinking about it, I haven't been able to it's like they call it porridge. I just think of it as slop.
Ew.
It was like this, like, bland oatmeal that just tasted like mucus. It was horrid. Like, so I didn't eat that. So for me,
Yeah.
I was actually getting closer to, like, probably 700 calories a day, and I was in there for 12 days. Um, so I do not fault Lorenzo at all about, like, getting the food. I also don't think that he took it from anyone. Like, I think that, like, obviously they're trying to make this, like, as dramatic as possible,
Yeah.
but I don't remember anyone not being fed. So
Mhm.
maybe they had extra, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, I never asked for extra food because that food was n I didn't really wanna eat it.
Yeah. You're like,
Uh,
"I don't need any more of this."
yeah, it was just like an extended, fast, basically.
Yeah. So the set is obviously very, like, just appealing, and it looks so much like the show. Did it, when you were in person, did it feel that same way? Or, like, was it, I mean, very obviously a set, like, looking up, you would see, like, all the build, like, the
No, no,
structure they built
it
or
did not even feel like this. I felt like we were in another world. Like, that's why I
Mhm,
think, like, it was so immersive that
mhm.
that added to our experience, like the set, like being in there. Like it did not feel like we were just like playing around, in this like
Yeah.
fake place. Like it felt like we were going into another universe. And I think that like added to like the psychological piece of it all because we were basically in, yeah, like Squid Game universe. We were no longer on Earth. We were in a completely different place. Like when someone got eliminated, it felt like they were dying. Like or to like eliminate your friend, you feel like you were killing your friend. Like it,
Yeah.
it was just like the psychological element to it all. And the set definitely, I think, elevated that for sure because it was so realistic.
Yeah, I mean, the living quarters looked very bizarre. I mean, especially in the beginning with all those people. How was it like sleeping there and sleeping around all of those people? Like, was it easy? I mean, it doesn't look easy. I feel like there'd be someone snoring, just too many
Oh yeah,
people.
there was snoring, there was passing gas, there were people screaming at each other from across the room. Like it was an experience. Like it was like I mean, I've never been to jail, but I presume what like jail would be
Yeah.
like if all the inmates were in one big room instead of like separate cells. Um,
Hmm.
it was like a slumber party with everyone you know.
Yeah, and you don't know.
Then you don't know. Yeah, there was a lot going on in there. So yeah, it was really hard to sleep sometimes, to say the least. But like I think
Mhm.
at a certain point everybody needed sleep. Like the first 2 nights were kind of weird, but like as it dwindled down, people like we all needed to sleep. Like we needed it.
Yeah.
We were also just so mentally drained from like getting through each day. So it got better.
This podcast is sponsored by Squarespace. I have no idea how to build a website, but luckily I don't have to. With Squarespace, they guide me each step of the way. They are an all-in-one website platform for business owners like yourself. Whether your products are services, physical items, or digital goods, Squarespace has you covered. To start, you can choose from any one of their flexible website templates. Squarespace has measures in place so you don't need to do any coding. You won't need a degree in computer science. Just pick a template and build it out to fit your needs. There are so many categories to choose from, whether you own a bakery, run a graphic design business, or sell merchandise. You can select features to enhance the brand you work so hard for. Lastly, I have to mention their flexible payment tools. At first, I had no idea how to create a website and charge people for goods. Figuring out a payment processing system sounds difficult, but Squarespace has it all figured out. Doing business through them allows you to accept a variety of payments, whether it's a credit card or Apple Pay. So what are you waiting for? Head to squarespace.com for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Sloan, SLOAN, to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring this episode, and enjoy.
So production was obviously very involved in your guys' stay and every interaction, trying to create storylines. Were there any moments that you feel like have been misrepresented or some things that have happened? Like, was there like a fight or an incident, an injury that like you are surprised did not end up in the tape?
Oh, there's so many. I don't even have like the time to like I'm also part of this is like the trauma, you just like shove it down. So, but there's so many moments that like completely got cut. Like, there's so many things. Like, there are even some beautiful moments. Like, we
Mhm.
literally had like a kumbaya session where we all were like singing and like doing a karaoke and like just like singing together. There was a talent show where like someone like gave someone else a lap dance. Like,
Mhm.
and all these like there were like some fun like cast vibey moments. You know what I mean? Like we were in the morning we'd wake up and like jog around. There was like morning yoga. So like there was a lot that like I didn't see in the show. There
Mhm.
was a lot of drama as well. Like, there was a lot of like plot holes to the drama that did happen because I think that they chose to to focus on specific characters instead of like some of the groups. Like it was like one or
Yeah.
two groups that got focused, but like there were like five or six groups in there, right? So like in all those groups there was drama like in between the groups or like drama in the group. Like, are they gonna sit with us? Like, because again, like we thought that we
Yeah.
were gonna play tug of war at some point. And
Mhm.
I think that like some of the castmates have said this, like we did play tug of war, which is a mental tug of war. But like we were just so it's the question is like, do you sit in your line with the people that you have become close to in this game, or do you sit with the people like men, like big guys, basically? Because like obviously like in tug of war, that's what you need. And so it was like a really difficult dynamic because everyone was expecting tug of war. It was written
Mhm.
on the wall, literally, just like in the original game.
Yeah.
That's like that dynamic of like people thinking that their teammates are gonna sit with them because like they say that they would, but then like in the last minute they move because they're like, you know what, this is a better line. I'm much more likely to make it through tug of war with these people picking up and like deserting their like
Mm.
it was a lot of that happening, people screaming at each other. I think they got a couple clips of that happening in the white room. But there were just so many other things that happened that like definitely didn't make the cut. Definitely didn't make the cut. But overall I still think they did the best that they could with like so many people. Like, you know, that you can only
Yeah.
do so much.
And they did like you said, they did focus on individual people, and I would say, like, some standout characters are obviously, like, Trey and his mom
Yeah.
and that duo. Did you, like, meet them and speak to them or interact with them at all? And is there any characters that you've seen, like, go far that you just had no interaction with? Like, I believe, like, Maya? Is it Mai?
Mine,
She's in
yeah,
the top
3.
3, like, did you talk to all of these people, or were there people you just never interacted with?
So when you're stuck in that place for 24 hours, like I feel like you talk to everyone at least once. Like I don't think that
Yeah.
there's anyone I didn't talk to. Like or maybe someone will correct me, but like I don't Leanne, I got on quite well with Leanne. I think I'm still in touch with Leanne. Shrey, I think I talked to him once.
Mhm.
Um Mai, I think I talked to her twice. I did not she like those are like one of the least people that I've chatted to.
Yeah.
Um but from what I've heard, she's a really strong player. Like she was super smart with all the choices that she was making. Like she was like 2 to 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Um,
Mhm.
and definitely willing to make some really tough decisions as well. So like I think like it would have been interesting to hear the things that she would say to other players, knowing how far she got now. But I was like in my own little world during that time. So like I wasn't like able to even like really observe her.
Yeah. How was it getting ready in the bathrooms? Like, did you have your makeup, your
No
products, like,
makeup,
everything you
no
needed?
product, no nothing. Nothing. We had nothing.
They give you, like, toothbrush, toothpaste, like, shampoo, conditioner,
Toothbrush,
that's it?
toothpaste, shampoo and conditioner were were out of these like I don't
The
know.
big pumps kinda?
Yeah, the big pumps, like I guess like contraptions, containers
Uh-huh.
in the bathroom. I don't even know if we had shampoo and conditioner. I think it was like both in one. It was just really dehydrating, watered down solution.
Yeah.
uh, and yeah, that's there was nothing else. Nothing. No makeup. No nothing. Just like literally like body wash. They had lotion, again, watered down lotion. And then we
Not
got
even good.
chapstick like maybe a week and a half in. They started giving us chapstick. I
So,
think I
I
still have chapstick.
really? I read at some point that they did provide condoms. Is that something that's true? And oh, there it is. Oh, yeah, that's cute that it has your label on it
Yeah,
too.
it has like my number on it. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
because I saw you made, like, a TikTok about the chapstick. Like, why were people asking about it? Like, what did you
basically because in the beginning they didn't give people chapstick. They wanted people to suffer.
Yeah.
So like people's lips were literally falling apart because they were so dehydrated. People
Ugh.
so they gave us condoms because obviously like it's a TV show. They want people to hook up. They want the drama, the sex, all the excitement. So there were endless supplies of condoms. But
Did they, like, anyone hook up? I don't
no.
think so, right?
Not enough for it to be I mean, it depends on what you call hookup, I guess, but
Oh
not
my god.
not, enough for it to become like a s and then the people that I do know, like, got on well, got cut
Yeah.
unfortunately quite early on, so it wasn't enough to, like I guess
You
they
didn't
just
have a Squid Games romance?
no. I don't, like, think I don't understand how anyone can have a romance in a place like that, like, you're so deprived of your humanity. Anyways, back to the the condoms, since, like, there's obviously lube on condoms, people were taking, like, opening the condom,
Uh-huh.
squirting out the lube and using it as, like, chapstick because that's how dehydrated their lips were. It was really sad. I snuck
Mhm.
in some chapstick, so I never, like, had to worry about that, but
Yeah.
people's lips were literally falling apart.
It sounds terrible. So I want to talk to you about the marble game and the situation with 065. But just before we get to that, out of all the challenges or like the mini tests and everything, you actually, how far did you get, by the way?
So I was the last person to die, be eliminated,
Yeah.
of the marbles game, and so if we I don't know when they started doing numbers, but, like, so I'm, like, top 32 out of
Okay.
465, but, like, um, so yeah, 32, 30 yeah, my number I think is 32 out of 465.
Yeah. So that
Okay.
probably the marbles wasn't your favorite challenge. What was like your favorite challenge or test that you did.
To be quite honest, I think that my favorite was Dalgona because I was a little nervous going into it. I didn't like have really any expectations about it, but I felt so calm going into it. Um, and yeah, I think that like I smashed it. Like I'm just like really proud of myself and for like
Yeah.
continue like and everyone in my group, we all made it through Star. Even though Star is like one of the shapes that
Yeah.
we would not be, but we like communicated, talked through it together as a team, worked through it, and we a lot of us like made it through. Like it was actually I think that yeah, Dogana was probably my favorite actual challenge. Um, Warships was horrifying. I made it through, but my team did not. So like it's like
Mhm.
battleship. So like if you're sunk, if your boat gets sunk, then you're eliminated, but the people in your team still make it through. So you can
Yeah.
make it through even if your team actually loses, which is really interesting. So yeah, my team lost unfortunately, which was just like so hard to just see people around you go home and like you got to
Mhm.
stay. Red Light Green Light was I don't even yeah, so I don't I hope no one has to go through that. Red light, green light, I don't even know. People like professional athletes like weren't getting out. Like it was
Yeah.
red light, green light, and then obviously I got out in marbles. So I would say that was probably my favorite doggone now.
So, and for that, the cookie challenge, I'm not even gonna try to butcher that name, but for the cookie challenge, it seemed super tense when everyone figured out like how the shapes were being chosen.
Oh
Like,
my
was
god.
the room so tense?
Oh my goodness. I will never forget. Oh my god, they went in there and they could not agree and they all got shot. Like this is what I'm saying. Like you guys, people don't understand. Like when you're in there, it feels like they're being murdered. Like you're in the Squid Game universe. Like it's
Mm.
such an immersive experience. So like I will, like my I just will never forget what it felt like to look on that screen and see them all pop pop pop. You have like not finished the challenge. Like it was just like, and then again the same thing happened again. It was like 2 rounds of people who were unable to like make it I in my opinion, when it comes to Doggone, I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I don't care. We got to pick what line we went into. So it was like there are 4 lines, 1 through 4. We decided which one that we would be into. No one told us where to go. No one told us what shape it would be. We selected our lines. That was our choice.
Mhm.
I feel like if I chose to be in the 4th line, and that happened to be the line of umbrella. No one told me to be number 4. You know what I mean? Like I feel like at a certain point you have to like take responsibility. And I know that nobody wants umbrella, but then like at that point, why would they even give us the opportunity to get in lines? It would just be like a free for all, and like the last person, would just get umbrella. Like I feel like
Mhm.
they gave us the autonomy to make the choice for which line that we would be in. And I feel like it makes the most sense to like just
Yeah.
go in the line that you selected. And I know that when you get in the room, you want to select the one that's the best for you. But like that's never gonna work because, in my opinion, it just was destined to fail for people who didn't want to get umbrella. And I understand the guy, bless him, I can't remember his name. But the guy who ended up getting umbrella, and then like a lot of those people went out.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, like I just think that that makes them like the most logical sense in such a tense and like uncomfortable situation. And then people did make it through Umbrella. People did.
Yeah. Yeah. Like just accept your fate at that point.
Yeah, I mean, but I know it's an unpopular opinion, and like I get it, but I feel like I chose Star. It was like probably like the second least likely, to make success, but like I made it through.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now let's go ahead and get to your last challenge because you had arguably one of the most like controversial exits from the show because a lot of people have feelings on how you 399 and 065 interacted. So can you talk a little bit about essentially the marbles test was when two people would go into this room and they essentially need to strategize on how they will play a game with these two marbles to determine a winner, correct? That's like essentially it.
Hmm.
So you were partnered with 065. How did that partnership like didn't he kind of just like select you or like how did you guys partner up?
Yeah, so what's, like, not pictures, like, I was actually I mean, you can kinda see, like, I was at the end of the line, like, I was kinda trying to be at the back of the line because I felt like it was marbles, like, they were telling us to get in, like, groups of 2. I was like, "This is
Mhm.
marbles." There was just an elimination the day before with Jack in the Box, and the person who got eliminated had an advantage, and I was like, "Okay, so what type of game could potentially have an advantage?" Um, and then they told us to get in groups of 2. It's like, "It's marbles. If you don't have a partner, you don't have to go through it," just like the original television show. So I
Mm.
in the back of my mind, I was like, if you see me in the clip, I'm in the back because I
Yeah,
was
I
just
remember.
yeah, I was like, and then basically Dylan grabbed me. He was like, "Do you want to be partners?" And at that point, I just was like, you know what, like there's no guarantee that that's gonna happen. It's better to like have a partner than like take a whim. But like my goal was to be in the back and let's hope that no one selected me.
Yeah.
um, Obviously that didn't happen. So, but yeah, he just picked me basically. I don't really know why, but he did, and I just like didn't like say no.
Mhm.
I was, and I just yeah, I think about that a lot sometimes. But yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
So, also, side note, did you rewatch the show before you went into the, challenge?
Yeah, are you kidding me? Like every
Yeah.
day, I was watching everything. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so
I
you
can't
watched it, like, before you went and just, like, mentally
yeah.
prepared for, like, what this could
Oh,
be?
yeah. Oh, yeah. So many times. So many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was studying that show.
So you knew when going to marbles, like, this could be the end. So what was the process like, just let's walk through this entire challenge because this
Mhm,
was probably the most screen time you got in the series, and it's
mhm.
because you and Dylan really couldn't get along on or get on the same page as
We
far
can
as, like, how
agree,
you're
yeah.
going to play the game. So what really happened, and how did they kind of edit it to rewrite this story?
So I think that they unfortunately edited it to make him look like they tried to basically make it look like a murder suicide situation. Like I obviously made it edit they edited it to look like I was the rightful winner, which I was, but in a very more obvious way, and that he basically refused to let me win, and then he would rather we both die than give me the marbles. Which I guess if you were to look at it objectively speaking, that is kind of what happened, but just not in that way. Um, so, and I think that they just cut out a lot just to kind of get to like the meat of it, which is like, the murder suicide.
Mhm,
Walking through what happened, basically, I knew that he wanted to play a throwing game. Everyone around me in the dorm was telling me that he wanted to play a throwing game because, like, what's not in there, they cut this out in my interview, was like he was like and played baseball like his whole life, and like so
mhm.
baseball is like a game of like running and hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
Like so it's just like those are the two big points of baseball. Like you're either hitting something with a small ball or you're running. I've never been good at hand-eye coordination. I'm barely good at swimming, as you know. So like I'm just like not that person.
Uh-huh.
Um, and when it comes to marbles, like there's three categories of games that you can play. So you can play a game of strategy or NIM essentially, which is basically I take one, you put all the marbles on the floor, whatever, and then you say I take one marble or I can take two marbles. The person who has the last marble on the floor wins basically. So like the goal is to make sure that you can like get your last marble in. It's kind of like chess. So
Mm,
it's like again a game of strategy. It takes a lot of like math or whatever, like a lot of mental math. There's a lot of couple like mental math strategy games you could play with the marbles. That's my strong suit. I'm really good with math. I'm a strategy consultant. I work in management consulting. So like my strength was math, strategy, mental, anything.
mhm,
His strength was throwing. Like that's like what he was good at. He felt more confident. Since we had alternative strengths, as you saw on the show, was like, we have alternative strengths. I led with hoping that we could find a consensus in the middle, which was just playing a game of chance, like rock, paper, scissors, odds and evens,
mhm,
put in the marble and my hand, you pick which hand it's in, like something that gave us both like an equal playing field. That was what I was arguing for the entire time. He refused, and didn't he refused every option that I gave. He only wanted to do a throwing game because he didn't his rationale was like he wanted to go down as a competition, like a competitor. He didn't want to leave it up to chance. And
mhm,
I was like, okay, well, if it's a competition, then why not just do a game of strategy? Because that's my competition. And he was like, oh, well, no, that's not fair because there's a surefire way to win. I'm like, yeah, because I know the math. So, that's unfair to you, which I'm not even spending the time trying to advocate for that. I'm advocating for something that would give us both an equal chance. I could go home, you could go home, but at least like it's not super swayed in anyone's direction.
mhm.
His idea of compromising was instead of throwing with his dominant hand, which is like what he thought. He was like, "All right, I don't want to do anything but throwing, but at least what we can do is like we can throw with our non-dominant hand. So, like levels the playing field."
Uh-huh.
And I was like, first of all, I don't like I didn't even believe him when he said he was right-handed because I was like, I'm not watching this man eat. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
he could have been left-handed the whole time. So that's why I pushed back on it for so long. Or he could have been ambidextrous. And then we know that baseball players like train with both of their hands as well. So
Mhm.
so it's like I pushed back on that for 18 minutes because like I didn't feel like that was an adequate like solution or like compromise. Like playing with your left hand, and then again, like I'm just trusting basically that he's not ambidextrous.
Mhm.
Um, Basically, long story short, I was like, you know what, Aurora, like you should at least give yourself, even if it's like a 10% chance, like give yourself a 10% chance to get out. So I seceded, and I followed the rules of the game. I threw with my left hand. I got one in, and he never threw with his left hand. Like I don't know why. I don't know. I've thought about this a lot, and like sometimes like I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like sometimes you forget in the heat of the moment. Like there's so much adrenaline, there's so much of the line. Like maybe you just like forget. I mean, that didn't keep me from keeping like following the
Yeah.
rules. I'm just trying to like rationalize in my mind to humanize him and try to understand why he would fight for something for 18 minutes and then like not do it. But yeah, he didn't throw with his left hand, he threw with his right hand, and then he got one in, and I was focused on the ball, I wasn't focused on his hand, so I
Yeah.
didn't see him break the rules until I saw it on the television, like, last week, and so we yeah, like, he got one in, I got one in, and so technically we tied, and so we had to decide, "Alright, what's gonna happen?" So my argument was, "Okay, well, I'm the first one to get it in, so maybe I should, like" if we had to pick someone, I feel like it should have been me because I was the first one to get it in. He said, "No, because he tied me." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fair. Like, it's a tie. Like, I'm not gonna"
Mhm.
so we were gonna play rock, paper, scissors as a means of, like, rectifying the tie, but when we went to play rock, paper, scissors, the guard, like, came out of nowhere and, like, stopped us. And again, like, the guards are super scary. So, like, you just, like
Yeah.
he just, like, put his hand up. I was like, "Ah, okay." And basically production came out and said that we were unable to play rock, paper, scissors because it didn't actually incorporate the marble in the game. So what they
Mm.
told us was like if we had done like odds and evens, like I put 3 marbles in my hand and he had to say is it odd or even, that would have been able to be a way of like rectifying the tie because the marbles are physically in my hand, like I'm actually using the marble. But rock,
Mhm.
paper, scissors, you weren't actually using the marbles.
Oh.
They weren't. It wasn't an adequate way to play the game, basically. Which I wish they had just told us that because we shook on it. Like we shook on playing with our left hand, and we shook on if there's a tie, we play rock paper scissors. And like the guard was there, so I don't know why they let us shake on something that was against the rules. And then when we went to do it, I don't know, but we ran out of time. And yeah, then we both unfortunately were eliminated.
So what can you describe a little bit of the technology and the feeling of when you're eliminated? Because some people, like one of the questions I had was like, does it hurt? So like, what is that technology
If
and
you
how
have,
did
like,
it
this
work?
squid pack on you, it's like I wish I could describe it, like, it's like this thing of ink on your chest that just it's basically like if someone had like, when you have, like, a sore tummy and you have, like, those hot water tubs, like, they
Mm.
put on you, just imagine that full of ink and then, like, strapped with, like, tape to your chest. That's like it's called, like, a squib, and
Yeah.
so when you die, it just, like, gets burst, and then and it just, like, bursts. It didn't hurt at all.
No. And did you kind of feel like the contraption go like "Doot," like tick and then it
Yeah,
just like
yeah, it's like clink, clink, and it's like, oh.
yeah. So
Yeah,
a lot of people have had opinions on how you and Dylan have played the game, and this has now. I mean, I one thing I think is really interesting about this show is how it has bled into social media so strongly. I mean, I think every person, including yourself, you're getting attention from talking about your experience on there. We're seeing so many people like, sharing their side of the story and what
yeah.
actually happened there, and seeing the show, your episode come out where you were featured heavily, people were really nasty to kind of both of you in different ways. And each of, I think I've seen him make some videos as well. So can you kind of describe like what it's been like now that this has gone out and like you've received some hate, you've received some support? What's kind of going on social media?
Yeah, I've received a lot of hate, which I was not expecting because I don't know, like, a lot of the hate I've received has been, like, racially charged, which, like, I mean, like,
Mm.
that's just, like, it is what it is, that's kind of part of, like, being a Black person. But the other, like, like, racist, just, like, misogynist hate that I've received, which, like, any Black woman would ever receive it, regardless of what she does. It's been unique to my situation is, like, I took an opportunity away from him. Which, like, I don't really understand because, like, even
Mm-mm.
he admits that it was a tie, so, like, he was never gonna make it through, like, that so, like, the idea of, like, me taking something away from him, he wasn't able to get one in until he even admits to that, so I don't understand why people would come and say that I did that or, like, I was trying to manipulate him or, like, I was wasting time, like, I should have just played the game that he wanted to play. Like when every other Marbles team was playing a throwing game. But like what they don't show you is like that only half of the teams played throwing games. Like a lot of the teams played NIM, a lot of the teams
Mm.
played like games of chance. Like so obviously they showed a couple of throwing games on the show because I think that's just like more like better TV, But
Yeah.
like I wouldn't say that there were a lot of teams that did not play throwing games. So I guess, like, as a viewer, you're seeing, like, a lot of the throwing games, and then I'm the only person who's like, "Yeah, that doesn't make sense." But again, like, that's just if they had even watched the regular Squid Game, like, that wasn't what every team did anyway, you know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
I think it's been really interesting. I haven't received any, like, death threats or anything crazy like that, just, like, really misogynist, really racist, unkind, and just, like, people coming into my DMs, like, saying, like, that I, like, took an opportunity away from him and that, like, I, wasted the time or I'm, like, a gaslighter or I'm a liar or all sorts
Mhm.
of stuff or, like, I think at one point I mean, I'm sure you've seen the episode, like I was like explaining what I think we should do, and he like told me to like not to raise my voice at him when
Yeah, I did
I
see
was
that.
I'm not
only gonna do
comfortable
three.
playing a game of throwing.
You don't have to raise your voice, it's fine.
I'm not raising my voice.
It's okay. Listen, I thought you were a competitor.
when I wasn't raising my voice. And in one of his videos, he said I was raising my voice. They just conveniently cut it out. And so someone would come into my like DMs and say like I was like yelling and that I'm a liar. Basically just like backing whatever he's putting out there, and so that's been kind
Mhm.
of difficult.
All right, I've had a lot of people ask me what my side of the story is and ask me to post something about it, and I haven't posted for a couple days my full side for a reason. My side of the story, the other person's side of the story, and then the full truth. That goes with any argument ever. We are going back and forth discussing on trying to agree to certain rules. At this point, we both start raising our voices. And when we both start raising our voices, at one point, the opponent that I'm playing snaps and says something that didn't make the final cut. Now that is when I say, please don't raise your voice to me. In the version that everyone sees, she's talking completely normal when I say that. So there is no context of both of us raising our voices.
I can't speak to like what he's experienced, but that has been a bit difficult for me because at the end of the day, like I feel very proud of the way I conducted myself. I feel like I advocated for myself. I feel like I, you know, tried to do the best, like fair
Mhm.
option, and gave him a lot of opportunities to like make a choice. And in the end, I still seceded. So I don't know how I could still receive hate when I'm the
Yeah.
one who seceded to the game he wanted to play. So it's been a really uncomfortable process of like having to re-explain myself online.
Yeah, it's also kind of like an anxiety thing because, like, now that everyone is kind of like out there and able to speak, it's like you don't know if 065 is going to make a video that tries to implicate you in some way, and then you just randomly wake up with like a bunch of hate. It's not like you're used to being a reality star or all over social media and having your eye on, like, their eyes on you. So it's definitely, I also hate that premise that you took away, like, that they would say that you took something from him because you guys are in a bizarre situation. No real life, like, lessons really apply here. It's like she didn't take anything away from him, and on top of that, the editing, I just feel like it's so there's so much content, so much footage they must have got that, like, there's just
I think
most
that
of the storylines are barely told, it's like a quarter
mhm,
at best of the real story.
a quarter exactly. And I think that like personally for me in my experience, the hardest part has been like he was, like, so much worse, like, in person, like, the
Yeah.
gaslighting, the way he treated me, the way he spoke to me, like, it was, like it was like bullying, like in gas, like it was a very uncomfortable experience. Like it was like super triggering to me, like being like a homeschool kid, like going to public school and like, it was just like all of it was like I felt
Mhm.
like that homeschool kid all over again, going into public school, like in so many ways. And so that's why I left the experience so proud of myself, because I was like, a younger version of me may not have stood, may not have stood her ground. A younger version of me may have like let him bully me and like let him do whatever he wanted, because like that worked in the end. But like I
Mhm.
stood up for myself and I did it in a way that didn't need for me to raise my voice or to be manipulative or to do any of these things that I'm being accused of doing. Um, and I just wish, like, specifically since my exit is obviously one of the most controversial of the show,
Uh-huh.
um, they would just have l- kept at least us agreeing to the rules in the clip, because that's like the most important part of the game. I feel like, how can you judge a game if you don't see the two players agree on the game that's being played?
Well, especially when I just see you guys sitting there, like, kind of silently at some points, like, they could have filled that with
They
the
could have filled that with us,
context.
exactly. They could have filled that with us shaking hands and saying, "Okay, we're gonna play with our left hand, and in case there's a tie, we're gonna do it like there." I think they just did that again. I think they were more focused on making it look like a murder suicide. And to be quite honest, I still think it was like there was no way I was gonna. I have made come to terms with the fact that with this loan, like I was never gonna get out of there. Even if
Mhm.
I had 3 marbles in and he had 1 marble, he would have found a reason to, like, discount me. When we got back to the hotel, he was telling people that I moved my arm too much when I was throwing or something, or, like, I moved my leg, or, just,
Mm.
like, finding ways to just try to, like, discount my marble, like, getting in. So, like, and that's before all this happened. So like he in his mind, like he was never gonna let me through. Like that line that he's like, I'm not just gonna let you win, like that is true, because like I
Mhm.
was never like I've kind of just come to terms with like the moment that he became my marbles partner, my like fate was sealed. Like it literally would not have mattered. Because he
Mhm.
would have never given me his marbles, and there's no way I would have been able to like physically overpower him and like take the marbles from him. Like, so it was just like I've kind of come to terms with that was the time for me to leave the game. It's like an unfortunate time, obviously, because I feel like my opportunity was robbed from me. But like I just trust like better things are in store, like, and there's a
Mhm.
reason for everything in this life. But um I hope like I've said this on my TikTok, I hope he learned something from this experience. I don't think, like, from what I've seen, like, I don't think he's really learned anything at all. Like, he's just peddling a lot of, like, really
Uh-huh.
disgusting stuff online. And before I even shared my side of the story, I was very clear, like, I'm not coming from a place of hate. I'm not advocating for hate. And he's done, like, the complete opposite. And that's been really difficult because I feel like if we had just both come at it from a place of like maturity and just like trying to share our piece, it would have been a very different space. But the way that he navigated this whole social media thing was really, really scary and damaging.
Yeah, it puts a bad
Well,
taste in my mouth, like, seeing
yeah,
how he talks about you, and he's definitely, like, instigating a lot of, like, this random hate going to you, and I don't like it. I don't like
he
his
wants me
victim
to.
mentality.
Yeah, he wants. I think like, which is an uncomfortable like realization. Like I know he's getting a lot of hate, but I think, like, misery loves company, and I think that, like, he wanted me to have a piece of it. He wanted
Mm.
me to, like, feel a piece of what he was feeling, and so that's, like, what was in the mechanism behind the choices that he was making and, like, how he talked about me online, whereas I was literally doing the complete opposite with, like, how I talked about the situation. I even gave him the benefit of the doubt about him throwing with his wrong arm. I was like, maybe, like, we just like go to things that we know. Like I don't even think about the arms I use when I do things sometimes.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
even in that video said I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I did my best to humanize him. Um, I wasn't unfortunately given that same I wasn't given that treatment at all. But again, like if anything, like the DMs I've received, it's like if I didn't believe you before he started talking on social media, I
Yeah.
believe him now because it's like he's just showing his character time and time again. And that's been really validating because, like, you can only share so much. And then at a certain point, you just have to wait and see like how people act and like hope that
Mhm.
people will see other people's like true colors in their character.
Yeah, and I think you've been navigating it. Like, I've been doing social media for a couple years now, and I've had like my moments online, and it's difficult, but you're holding up and you're doing well. And I think you're navigating in a mature way, which doesn't throw people off because nobody wants to be like nasty online. And the fact that he like is leading
Oh.
with that, yeah, people are gonna see right through it, and it's gonna like. No, I don't necessarily believe in karma, but like what you put out there, like you said, it's gonna come back to him, and that's why there's all this misery surrounding him on social media.
And again, like I truly like I wanted to be clear, like I hope he gets the help he needs. I hope that he truly does learn from this
Yeah,
experience.
get the help he needs.
Like whatever he needs, like I don't know. That's not my ministry, but like I do
Mhm.
really hope that whatever he has missing in his life
Mhm.
that makes him treat people with such ugliness, like that gets healed. Because at the end of the day, like people are people. Like hurt people. Like
Yeah.
that's why you have to always human. You have to always human. Like at the end of the day, he's a human being just like I am. We operate differently. We choose to treat other people differently. But like, who knows? Maybe he has some like crazy trauma. I don't know. Like I don't know the man. I don't know why he makes the choices that he makes. All I know is like how I'm gonna operate because I don't want any of that negativity to ever come back to me, and I'm just gonna always choose to treat people with love and respect, um, no matter what.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's
and
great.
and so that's and I hope that he truly does get whatever is going on, whatever he's experienced in his life. I hope that he does get the help that he needs, and that he can like grow from this and like be a better or be a man, and just
Yeah,
grow.
no longer a boy. So obviously this was a crazy experience. You're gonna have so many memories from this moment, and I am super proud of you and your performance on there. I don't think I could have done that well, to be honest. So,
You never
um,
know. You'd be surprised yourself.
I mean, I don't even standing still, girl. Like the first challenge, I would be out from there. I'd be like one too cold and two ADHD. I just like I need to get out of there. But
Yeah.
granted, $4 million, like
$4 million is a lot. 4.56 million dollars is a lot of money.
yeah. So you guys, I wonder how much comes out in taxes actually at the end of that,
It's like 2 million in the end. Yeah.
Well, still, it's like so much money.
That's
So
so much. Yeah, it's crazy
s-
amount.
you guys weren't paid for your time on there. Were you at least able to keep the tracksuit?
No, that is my biggest gripe. Give me my suit. That is my biggest gripe with Netflix right now. Besides the fact that they cut us like agreeing to the rules on my
Yeah.
Marvel team, is the fact that they won't give us our tracksuits. Like we earned those tracksuits with like our
Yeah.
blood, sweat, and tears. Like give us the tracksuits. And then when they like invite us, some of us for press events, like sometimes they had to put tracksuits on. I was like, can I keep this? And they always take it.
Yeah. Oh no. I
Yeah,
wonder why.
I don't know. I don't know. What do they need them for? Like
Yeah.
season two? Like I'm sure that you guys have other ones made. Like I don't. They refuse. Like it's just this like everyone is asking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wonder if there will be a season two. Do you think there will be?
I think that there will be, depending on like how this is received. Like in
Yeah.
the end, like I think there will be, especially like now that people have seen season one and like they're all the mistakes that we made, people are gonna. But there's gonna be so much more drama in season two. I'm sure. Like it'll be really interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you know who the top three is right now? I know you haven't really been
yeah,
keeping
so
up with
it's
it, but you
still Sam and Mai.
and so do you have any opinion on who you think could win?
All of them have a chance. Like
Mhm.
they're all of them are so smart, and, like and so like intuitive and like I'm rooting for Phil because Phil is like my actual friend.
Yeah.
And we were friends inside, like we get on outside. Yeah, like Phil was my friend. Is my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm rooting for them. Sam, he is like also super cool. I mean, he's kind of like a wild card. Like, I would not be surprised if he won either. Like,
Mhm.
it really is anybody's game. Obviously, Mai has like made some really, really like cutthroat choices towards the end, So
Yeah.
like, all eyes are on her and like what she's gonna do next. Because I think that like she's just shown herself to be a true competitor, and that's like really impressive. Um, but it really is anybody's game.
Yeah, I agree. So one last question. My team pulled out a question about a lawsuit. Can you kind of explain like what is the talks about like a lawsuit happening?
So the lawsuit is from people from Red Light, Green Light. So it's people who never made it into the dorm. Unfortunately, they were eliminated in Red Light, Green Light. And so the thing about Red Light, Green Light was it was tough. Like, I mean, there are some people who physically were unable to make it through. At multiple points that people were calling for medic.
Mm.
Apparently, there was, I didn't see this with my own eyes, as hearsay, but two or three contestants, or players, I should say, had seizures, like their bodies physically convulsing on the ground,
Oh my God.
passing, people passed out, like multiple people like passed out from the cold. So there were some serious medical emergencies arising from the red light, green light extravaganza.
Yeah.
So those players are the ones that I think are behind this lawsuit. It's not like people who like made it into the dorm. And
Mm.
I'm not a lawyer, but I do think that they have a small claim only because like the paperwork that we signed beforehand did not tell us that we'd be holding our stances for like 20 to 30 minutes at a time without a break. So
Mm.
they weren't able to like make a calculated judgment beforehand, like for their own health on whether or not like this is like it's what. So they didn't give. I guess like, there's the argument can be made that we didn't have like sufficient understanding of what we would be putting on the line in order to like opt in.
Mhm.
They weren't able to make an educated choice about moving forward. But that's not my job. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, and you're like, "I didn't see it because I was not moving and giving
I
up my
wasn't moving
chance."
anyway. Exactly.
You're like, "I don't care if there's someone behind me screaming for bloody like, bloody
No,
mercy."
I care. I care. That was tough, but like I'm just really
No,
lucky
I
because
know.
no one around me like started convulsing. Like that
I
would have
wouldn't
been
know
such
what to
a terrible
do.
feeling. Like because then it's just like do nothing. Like I'm so lucky I didn't have to make that choice. Like I'm sure there are a couple people who did help out their fellow players and got
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. And when they were out, did they just lay on the ground and then get up and leave the room, or they had to lay there for hours? Like,
No, they got it. So, like, after people started, like, passing out and, like, convulsing, then then Netflix was like, "Oh, okay, maybe we should give them a break." So then, like, we got breaks for, like, 5 minutes at a time.
really, that's funny.
So during the 5 minutes, I think that's when people started to, like, get up and leave. Some people just got left after their elimination. They were just so pissed. They were just like, like,
Yeah.
screaming, cursing, you know? I mean, I understand that you fly from all over who knows where to London to get out of red light, green light, like, that sucks, you know?
Yeah, I would be upset too, but you should
Yeah.
be proud of your time on there and great job. I love what you're doing on
Thank
social media
you.
with the TikTok, defending yourself, the drama. I'm eating it up. This is giving me like old school reality TV drama.
I feel like the drama on TikTok is almost like carrying this stupid show. Like
Really, it is.
I put like I need to be ran a check for the work that I'm carrying the marbles game on my back with like all
Yeah.
the receipts I have on TikTok and the way that this man is talking about me. But again, we just have to give him our hope, our thoughts and prayers, and hope he gets the hope that he needs.
Thoughts and prayers to 065.
Exactly, thoughts and prayers indeed.
But you guys should definitely go and check out Aurora on TikTok and on Instagram. I will link everything below. Go and listen to more about her journey and see what is next. I'm excited. I know you do a lot of travel things and content, so definitely
Yeah.
go and check her out. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, dude. Are you kidding? Like, what an honor.
I just
Thank
like
you
when I
so much.
this came in as soon as I saw it on the TV, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I need to interview her." And I was like, "I know her. Like, this is great. This is perfect." So I want more friends like you. Like, stir up the drama and come on here and give me the tea. I'm here for
Happy to
it.
be of service at any point.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Go and support Aurora, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.